channel. My name is Opubo. For those of you new to the channel, I say welcome. And for those returning, I bid you welcome back. Good to have you return. You are well appreciated. As always, in this channel, I present ideas and designs of various technologies, mostly from the Technology IP Bank of Enhanced Knowledge LLC, often integrated from several other technologies and made ready for adoption by the Adoption Brokerage Division. This presentation focuses on still conservation economy, but a specific technology, sunlight harness photo guide, which enables the transmission and aids storage of sunlight, not as energy, but as light, being a fundamental need supporting conservation economy from the technological perspective. And the approach is citizens of a geographical space, community, region, or even a nation could adopt to use the technology for remote incidence of light or recovery for reuse, enabling specialized technologies sustaining a conservation economy. As per the delineations of the essential technologies for a conservation economy in the broad brush discussions of the special economy, the availability of the full spectrum of sunlight on demand was the last listed technology. Of course, the basis of essential technologies, though defined in the context characterizations, are yet modified somewhat by derivative essential needs as defined consequent on the prevailing civilizations and the underpinning science. The context of sunlight harnessing obtains from the recognition that a conservation economy embodying the use of microorganisms for production purposes may have to recreate the existence conditions of the organism when the use circumstance or context is divergent from the existence conditions. More specifically, the general knowledge is that microorganisms have natural habitats that are at spaces deemed outside and exposed to the full spectrum of the sun on a regular basis. So then, any use of the organism away from the outside must bring the sunlight into the organism in order that the full spectrum functionality may obtain. Digressing for a moment, however, before making a deep dive into the subject of sunlight harnessing, please click the subscribe button below now if you have not as yet subscribed to the channel. I implore you to simply click now on the subscribe button below. The subscription would cause the system to keep you informed by notification of the new next presentation the moment one is published. And also, of course, help me to more consistently continue to elicit to you the peace dividends of conservation economy. Now back to the presentation. By the prevailing civilization and also supported by the existence lifestyle of humanity, sunlight is virtually the source of life on Earth. Not only does sunlight provision the Earth with energy, various ailments are also cured with exposure to sunlight. The manner of harnessing sunlight, however, has been limited to converting the intrinsic content energy into electric power and storing the same in a battery or some form of capacitor. Actual storage of the sunlight itself is seldom attempted, being considered somewhat fruitless. Yet there are molecules, albeit phosphorescent, that store the light in its essence and then re-emit the light at a later time. Obviously then, light storage is fundamentally possible. The careful development of complex molecules from simple molecules with phosphorescent properties have shown the capacity to store light, including some specific wavelength of light. This development, of course, is very significant because it promises the availability of sunlight even in the night and at any place, even when the sun is not shining. This storage mechanism provides yet another means of storing the energy of the sun for the use at some other time as may be necessary. So then, A pressing need is the mechanism by which to deliver the sunlight in a structured form into such devices of storage. The capturing of sunlight without the rays being fully absorbed by the materials on which the rays impinge is often accomplished with mirrors carefully mounted on a geometric structure of some sort, built to meet certain objectives, which structures are often called collectors. Notwithstanding the variations in the structure of collectors, however, the most tested designs for harnessing sunlight have been the collectors in general. On this guidance then, and given the collector design in the Technology IP Bank, a sunlight transmission device, Sun Harness Photo Guide, has been designed, integrated upon the collector framework. So simplistic and yet efficacious design has been developed first and foremost for the transmission of sunlight from the outside into the inside. However, such may be differentiated. But most importantly, the design is aimed at being aligned well enough so the sunlight is incident into prospective harness storages. The design based on the technologies of the Technology IP Bank is as shown in the image. Conceptually, sunlight is collected and transmitted in an unmodified and seemingly essence-stable form to the point of incidence at which the light is incident for the purposes of reuse or emitted for the purposes of reuse. The same thing. By design, the Sunlight Harness Photo Guide is a monolith consisting of a well-encased collector, a light transmission conduit, and a reticular incident irradiator. The casing housing the collector and conduit assembly designs allows sunlight to get transmitted through with minimal losses, but prevents the collector surface and the assembly of the materials from getting wet from rainfalls or humidity. The key technologies of the Technology IP Bank adopted in this technology are the base collector and the reticular point of incidence irradiator. During use, light incident on the collector is by lossless incidence transmitted into the photoconduit, which also by lossless transmission guides rays into the point of incidence irradiator. At this terminal point of incidence, the sunlight is re-emitted. Admittedly, at this time then, there can be uniform acceptance that there is in fact a sunlight harness photo guide that has the functionality to collect and transmit sunlight at the outside to a locale not exposed to the region of sunshine, thereby augment conservation economy technology functionality that utilizes the full spectrum of sunlight in operations. The materials of construction being mainly steel, the technology is well suited for the utilization of discarded metal parts in every region, even if allowing for some repurposing of such parts, but consequentially enabling the elimination of matter that would otherwise be branded waste. In that regard then, by the requirements of the role of technology in a conservation economy, this technology amply satisfies the performance needed to be of a conservation economy. And if interested in licensing this technology, please send an email to me. The email address is put in the pinned down section below, as are other useful information. Regarding licensing considerations, there are some notes, of course, that should be of interest. Notwithstanding that the technology as presented is compact and modular, because it is modular, the sunlight transmission can be deployed as a bank of modules and the sunlight transmission integrated with the hub to meet the needs of any region or community, and so pervasively operational for the needs of regions of people. The currently preferred for licensing reticular point of incidence irradiator, however, does not include use with any of the receptacles for our light storage designs. The available design is suited for only such uses as irradiation of process bioreactors, channel bioreactors, and raceway channels, and general production machines, equipment, and devices. Admittedly, however, the actual design, as will be provided upon licensing, is more complex than as shown in the image above, because the real design includes various peripheral devices required for optimal functionality. Note that I wrap up this presentation. I thank you for being here, and I appreciate your coming to view the presentation, and hope and expect that you would consider coming back for the rest of the technology presentations in the future. The fact is, even if you do not care to adopt the technology, some might just change your perspectives of society and life. Until the next presentation, I wish you be well.